The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Listener discretion is advised at all times.
Hello and thank you once again for downloading and listening to another episode of the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, part of the Social Suplex Podcast Network. My name is Clive and I am joined by Ricky. Good evening, Ricky.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm alright, thank you. I'm quite harried. Wednesdays has turned into quite a busy day for myself, with the podcast moving over to Wednesday nights just through happenstance and working long shifts on a Wednesday and trying to get the old 205 Live review report thing up on Lords of Pain as soon as I can for the masses. Wednesdays are crazy right now for me, but I would not have it any other way.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
How's your Wednesday been?
It's been fine. I saw you on the train earlier on, which was an unexpected event. And that was it. You know, home. I was working quite late as well, so I've been looking forward to this though for a good few days. Good.
Well, we just get towed into it then.
Yeah.
So, Backlash, it was a mixed bag of a pay-per-view for me. There are some positives that we all agree on, not many, and there are some positives that maybe only I feel, which I'll get to later, but there are a lot of negatives throughout the night regarding match order, match booking, tired stories, sort of characters remaining tired. Just in the grand scheme of things, not really a good night for WWE in terms of their pay-per-view back catalogue. But before we go down that road of getting all miserable, will we talk about the positives?
Yeah, we may as well get that out of the way before we really get into the nitty-gritty. So,
what are your thoughts on this match between Seth and The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship?
You know, personally, I don't understand. I think it was very, very overrated.
You're at it, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm joking. It was easily match of the night. And on top of that, like, absolute credit to Seth Rollins, because that was two really good matches in the space of 24 hours, because I know we'll touch on Raw and SmackDown later, but I enjoyed the match I had with Mojo Rawley. And then also big credit to Miz as well, because I know we're probably going to have a bit of a Seth loving, but Miz more than held his own in there. Miz played his part. Miz was unbelievable, and then obviously again we'll touch on SmackDown later, but the match again he had on SmackDown with Jeff Hardy was just unbelievable as well. But going back to Backlash, yeah, like, what a perfect way to start the pay-per-view. Like we said last week in the build-up to it, like the winners weren't really going to be too much of a surprise, especially this match, because obviously the Intercontinental and the United States were not going to end up on the same brand. But that wasn't going to stop us from enjoying a really good match, and it was an absolute excellent match. Seth Rollins is probably the hottest name in wrestling at the moment. If he's not in wrestling, certainly in the WWE. He's been on an absolute roll really for the last sort of 6 months, but specifically these last 2 months or so, 2-3 months, he's just been absolutely tearing it up and putting on some real good matches. So yeah, like I say, it was a real good start to the pay-per-view. Once again, these two seem to have really good chemistry with one another as well. But like I said, I'll give Miz just all the credit in the world for everything that he done. But for me, you know, it's just, I don't want to say it was all about Seth or anything like that. But like I said, right now, like no one can get enough of Seth Rollins at the moment. And I know there's a big whole debate going on with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, etc., and who's going to dethrone Brock and what's going on with Roman, who's the face of the company, is it still Cena or is it Roman or is it Braun? I mean, or is it AJ? I mean, there's a case to be made that Seth Rollins should be that guy. I know a lot of people are wanting him to be the one that ends Brock's title reign, and I would be on board with that as well. So like I say, right now he is probably the hottest name in that company right now. Crowd are loving him. Like I say, he's just putting on some real great matches as well.
Mm-hmm. I hold my hands up with Miz. My arms are getting sore from the length of time that I've been holding my hands up regarding him, to be honest. He is really good. Just to get that point across, guys, The Miz is very good. He's awesome. Seth, though, Seth's still on his career form. See that the figure 4 fight through in reversal? Mm-hmm. If you remember that was a pivotal part of the match for me, and it just sums up Rollins, his resolve that he's had as part of his character for the last few months, as you say, basically since that night where he declared Raw Monday Night Rollins. I thought that sequence, the figure 4 leg lock stuff, that encapsulated everything about Seth. No, both men, it encapsulated everything that both men are about. Just so much to like about the match. Rollins selling, Miz taking opportunities when he can. This whole superplex Falcon Arrow combo it's becoming a major turning point in these matches as of late. It's happened with Finn on a couple of occasions if you pay attention to it now, and this time his knee gave out during it when he was trying to do the Falcon Arrow. Also considering how predictable the outcome of this match was supposed to be, there were at times where I was completely convinced that the opposite was about to take place. I will officially throw this into the hat as one of my matches of the year, definitely. They got things off to a positive start, incredibly strong start. WWE put on a really hot match between two red hot wrestlers, one maybe white hot, definitely. Both of them are red hot. Apparently this was booked by Tyson Kidd. I wonder if there's any way to find out what past matches he's had his hands on, but as far as I'm aware, that list of the match agents or bookers or whatever, that was leaked. I know we're not supposed to see...
That was leaked prior to the show, I believe.
So I'm not sure if we could ever get our hands on any of the matches that have happened previously, but it'd be good to take note of what Tyson Kidd's been involved in the last wee while, because if that's him setting up a resume, a CV, then I want Tyson Kidd involved in a lot more matches. I think this actually surpassed the Mania match for me. What do you think?
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to go and say that at the moment, because for the Mania match, I actually watched WrestleMania again twice, and I've not had a chance yet to watch that match specifically again, so I'll need to watch it again. But from watching it watching it the next day, my initial reaction was it was probably just every bit as good as the WrestleMania one. I maybe gun to my head, I think I'd probably go WrestleMania one at the moment, but I'd need to rewatch it again. And obviously touching on Tyson Kidd, yeah, it was great that we sort of found out who booked the match and who was involved, etc. But I don't know, sometimes when you see things like that, do you just sometimes not just miss the whole kayfabe and kiddie sort of feel that you got when you watched wrestling, where you didn't really care about stuff like that? And so, yeah, it's nice to know, it's nice to see, and then it's no real surprise it's someone who's around about our age and it's grew up sort of in the same era as us watching wrestling. Obviously he was a wrestler, so we sort of have a different outlook on what wrestling is, as opposed to guys who grew up in the 80s or 70s or 80s or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But like I said, sometimes it's great to see it, and sometimes it's great to hear when you hear them on podcasts and interviews and stuff like that, and you say, this is excellent, you never hear about this stuff. But when that list was initially leaked, my initial reaction was okay. I didn't really need to see it, if I'm honest with you. Just because sometimes it takes away that whole the element of enjoyment of it, because you get too caught up in other things.
That's the problem in today's age. We're too caught up with the behind the scenes stuff.
You can't have it. You can't have it both ways. We will sit here, and it's absolutely unbelievable when you hear some of the wrestlers appearing on podcasts and they tell you how they got into business and what they've done and who helped them, etc., etc. When you hear all these stories going on backstage, but then sometimes you do miss the days of where it was just a case of this is who I like and this is who I'm going to root for, and it's a good guy versus a bad guy, and I just, but yeah, it certainly is. It was nice to see it in a sense, but at the same time you were like, it just sort of, you can't help but think back to the days that you didn't know anything like this, and all you really cared, like I said, was about your guy winning or the bad guy getting beat up, etc. But like I say, it's no real surprise that someone like him was involved in the match because of his wrestling style, and like I say, the time that he grew up and the people he was around, etc. So you compare that sort of match and the layout of it to, I'm not going to start naming names, but other people who booked different matches on that show, and you can instantly, when you look at them who booked it, you can obviously, they're from different eras, and they view wrestling differently, and that's not to say that's a bad thing. Like, just because someone views wrestling as like the way you see a 205 wrestling match or the way a New Japan match is, or someone who views it sort of slower, methodical wrestling, like almost like a throwback to the 70s and 80s. Like, there's no right or wrong way to wrestle, but like I said, it just sort of, it just made me think a wee bit. I was like, oh man, like I never even thought about who used to book matches and lay out matches, but now you see it and it's like, you just kind of miss the days where you were oblivious to some of those things. Like I say, like, you really can't have it both ways. You can't then be like, oh, I want to know what's going on, and then complain about kayfabe, etc. later on.
I know. It is actually hard to try and be kayfabe because of just the state, as well as all the information that we get online these days, just the state of wrestling, because we're all getting, because of the information we're getting, we are more savvy to what goes into a match. And because of that, it's hard to just sort of keep your kayfabe hat on. You want to just take it off and throw it in the air in a rage. But that's us getting negative. We'll stay positive as much as we can. Yeah.
No, that's not like, that wasn't a negative. It's just a, you know how sometimes you just think about things when you're a wee bit younger, just in the sense of how you grew up and, oh, remember we used to do this, and you just realise it's something. People this age, kids this age, don't do the things that you used to do, and it's like, it's happy memories, and like I said, it's not a negative. I'm not trying to be negative in that sense. I'm just thinking like, do you remember the time where we never thought into that? It was just like, we were just so immersed in the actual match itself, and just like I say, wanting a good guy to beat up the bad guy. So, but like you say, in order to avoid stuff like that, you have literally you cannot go on the internet.
I know. I think,
and in this day and age, social media and internet is everything. Like there's so much good about it.
I think wrestlers like Seth Rollins are actually helping with things like that, though, because more often than not, I actually have a moment of like fist pump and joy whenever he wins a match, and because I was so I was thinking to myself, the Miz is actually going to do this here because of Seth selling the knee injury. So there is that feeling of just suspending disbelief in his matches at the moment, and I just want to echo. I think Seth he's on his all-time career run. I know he had the really good run as a heel back in 2015, but there are quite a few parallels between his heel run then and his current run now. I think overall the show Monday Night Raw is revolving around him at the moment more often than not. It is Monday Night Rollins after all. He is repeatedly putting on the best matches of the night, both in weekly episodes of TV and in the pay-per-views. He went on to hold both the main event title and the mid-card title last time. So could history repeat itself? Does Seth have a valid claim to beat Brock? Another parallel, I think, is one that's quite important for how Seth will be for the next few months. He's got a massive big fat target on his back right now. He's taken out the Miz. It looks like he's dealt with Finn for the time being. Finn will be jealous of Seth though, and someone who will be really jealous, I know I keep going on about him, but Jason Jordan's been sitting at home recovering from injury. He wanted to become a big success at the expense of Seth. I think that was evident in the story they were trying to tell, and with the months of success, just sort of fan acceptance that Seth's had. Say what you want about Jordan, but he's got more than enough motive to come back gunning for Seth. And who the hell knows what will happen with Dean when he comes back? How will he feel about Rollins' success? I think arguably There's one or two, but I think he's the only true booking success story at the moment, and I really hope this continues, because if that's the case, we are in for a big treat on Monday nights. Maybe not everything, but some of them.
A few things before potentially moving on. 4 things actually. So, number 1, let's hope that Open Challenge is a weekly thing, because when John Cena had the US Open Challenge, like, it was just unbelievable, because at that point it seemed like he was putting on like 5-star match every single what it seemed like, which obviously culminated with the KO trilogy. So let's hope that's going to be a weekly thing. The next point was, I think what may eventually happen, and I alluded to it a couple of weeks back, that I think Jason Jordan will come back, and I think he'll end up costing Seth the Intercontinental title, and then you would have those two feuding before you could eventually move Seth on to potentially Ambrose, or potentially moving Seth towards the main event, the main title picture. Third point, from a kayfabe point of view, because you touched on Brock Lesnar, do you think Seth Rollins, from a kayfabe point of view and a realistic point of view, is the one, or do you think he should be seen as capable of beating Brock, having looked at what Brock's done in the last sort of 12 months, what kind of destructive path he's left?
Yes, and I'll tell you why, because I think that when you look at it from a sort of storyline perspective, he's not really faced Brock Lesnar properly. They had that quick 5 minutes at Battleground before the Undertaker came round, and Dean's dealt with him. Dean got beat soundly. Roman's dealt with him, as we know now, but got beat very soundly, even if it is a bit controversial. But Seth and Brock haven't really crossed paths since then, since that match at Battleground. As far as I'm aware, they've not really had much interaction with each other. The way things are setting up now, we're not really sure what's going on with Brock's contract. I'm not sure what the specifics are, but we've got a Money in the Bank contract about to be won in the next couple of months. Could it be that Seth wins that and then goes on to beat Brock Lesnar? I don't know. It's hard to say, because you've only got 4 guys from Raw and 4 guys from SmackDown going for this Money in the Bank, the male ladder match one. So it's hard. You've got Finn in there already. Anyone else in the men on Raw yet, or is it just him just now?
Braun.
And Braun as well.
And then from SmackDown it is Rusev and The Miz.
Mm-hmm. So there's already limited spaces available, so I'm not really sure what they will do. But I just feel that the momentum that Seth's on at the moment, I've not seen anything like this as organically as since Daniel Bryan back when it was him versus The Authority. I think it would be remiss of WWE not to capitalise on this, because even though he's holding the mid-card title, he held 2 titles for a short time when he was the heel back in the day. He could easily lose the IC title. You've got, as I say, we've got this TV challenge which could be happening every week. Nothing to stop Jason Jordan coming down during that, all guns blazing, and just destroy Seth quickly or cheaply, something along those lines. But I can't see where it would fit in. That's the only problem. If Seth isn't involved in the Money in the Bank ladder match, then I don't see where it would come from at all.
Well, yeah, I know he mentioned it on Raw in his promo that basically all he cares about right now is having the IC title, because in his eyes that's like the title on Raw.
It is on my eyes as well. So,
I suppose even though he's sort of ruled himself out, there's nothing to say come next week that he won't be in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. So, like I said, I think ultimately, I know we're touching on a couple of different things. I think it probably will be. Last week I thought it was going to be Seth Rollins or Braun, but I have a feeling that, let's just say the next Brock match is SummerSlam. I think whoever faces him then could sort of go back and forth, and then someone cashes in after the match or during the match.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I would go with it. But I mean, if I had my choice, like I says, before it lead up to WrestleMania, I thought it would be Roman Reigns, and I would just adamantly just give him the title, because he's a full-timer, etc. But if I had my choice, anyone on Raw, it would be Seth.
Oh, aye.
Whether it would happen or not, I'm not sure. And to me, like I say, from kayfabe or non-kayfabe, it's totally believable in my eyes that Seth can beat Brock. I understand that Brock's been on an absolute monstrous run where he destroyed, didn't destroy, but beat Goldberg, beat Joe, beat Roman, Braun, and Joe again, then beat Braun, and beat AJ, and beat Kane and Braun, and then beat Roman twice. Like that's like a who's who list of absolute superstars. So, but I would still say Seth is more than a credible threat. But like I said, I don't really see it happening. Partly because I also don't think he will be in the Money in the Bank match. But you know, we can always wish. You know, like I think like I agree with you as well. I think he probably will hold the IC title for a wee bit longer, and then I think at that point it's time to just quote unquote strap the rocket to him and you know, and just let him go. But we'll just wait and see what happens. I would still be surprised if it is Seth, but here's hoping, you know.
And never forget as well that night, when the night after Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank, Brock Lesnar went for a German suplex and Seth Rollins flipped out of it. That must be remembered because, see, from a sort of wrestling point of view, he can weasel his way out of big suplexes.
Yeah, and technically as a wrestler, in ring intelligence and ring IQ, etc., like the guy's just on a level that not many people are on, and that includes Brock. Because Brock as a wrestler can do more than this stupid suplex German suplex city bitch suplex F5 fit match over. Like when he in the initial run, he was just absolute brute force, but he was still doing classic wrestling moves. But now it's all just about hit a couple of Germans, hit an F5, swear, and then leave. So Brock can do so much more as well. But Seth, like I say, ring-wise, like ring ability and technical abilities, unbelievable. And like I say, from a kayfabe point of view, when you just sort of look at them, to me, it is believable that someone like Seth can beat someone like Brock. Because that ultimately could come down that sort of road. Like when you look at what Brock's done these last sort of 12-14 months, you need someone to look credible, and someone who looks credible isn't always someone who's going to be Braun Strowman size, you know.
Well, look at the match that he had with AJ Styles at Survivor Series. He's a smaller guy. He's got that really impressive ring wherewithal that Seth's got, and it's probably the most that Brock's been pushed to his limit out of a lot of them. I know you're led to believe that the other guys have had Brock on his back haunches, but AJ was the one that left Brock limping out the ring as well. So there is that to think about. So I'm all for it. It's just a case of making the story work. But they seem to be on Midas touch with regard to Rollins booking at the moment, so long may it continue. But I don't know, like, see as well, you've got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Surely one of them will be in the Money in the Bank match.
Well,
you'd have to imagine.
As of right now, no. But so unless they maybe go, I'm trying to think who else could possibly go into it. Would Bobby Roode, or you would imagine either Bobby Roode, Elias? Because
I know that I know they were eliminated in Monday night there, but they're going to they've got to weasel themselves back into it unless they're just going down this road of making them a tag team, that there is a will they won't they scenario with them breaking up.
I think they will break up. It's obviously going to happen at some point, but I think that could happen sooner rather than later. And I mentioned it too. We mentioned it earlier on. Well, off air, I think in this case they're probably going to go KO as a face and Sami as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
I know KO as a heel it works, you know. And that old saying, "Why mess with something? Why try and fix something that's not broke?" It just adds a nice wee wrinkle to it, you know, where we've always seen KO as a heel and Sami as a face, but this time roles reversed. It's just a nice wee wrinkle, and it'll be interesting to see how it works. Not entirely sure how it works, but I think the face turn for me, it was Backlash where they were both outside the ring, and when they were running in the ring, but Sammy grabbed KO and threw him into the ring to Strowman and Lashley. Before it, KO was saying to Sammy, he was like, no, we don't run, we don't run, we stay and fight. Like, if you didn't know Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, right, if you just asked someone, like a wrestling fan, would you say they're faces? You would assume that they are, just based on what he was saying. But then you could also flip it and you could go back, well, the prize fighter Kevin Owens, like that whole gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think they might just go with KO as the face, and it'll be interesting to see how that works.
I think it would be good to see what happens with it, because people argue that heels and faces don't matter anymore, but it does matter when that's what WWE booked them to be. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, regards to heel turns, or deciding who's a heel or not, what about Jeff Hardy? No, not Jeff Hardy. What about Randy Orton? Do you think he's going to turn heel at any point? Because you were saying earlier on in the week there that you want him to turn heel ASAP.
I mean, right. We've been saying the same thing for a good couple of years now. And look, Randy Orton's like, forget who his dad is, right? If you just look at what he's done, right? Like, he's an all-time great, and he's like legit one of the greats of the era, right? You can't deny that. Whether you have him like as the top guy, the number one, or like top 5, top 10, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, he's one of the absolute greats of the last sort of 10, 15 years, right? I can count on one hand how many times like we've watched a Randy Orton match and been like, that was a real good match in the last sort of like 12 months or 16 months, and you know which match I'm going to say.
Luke Harper.
Yep. And I like Randy, but Randy is a heel. Like, he was a real bastard of a heel. He was really not likeable at all as a heel. Like, he had a couple of different gimmicks, the whole legend killer, and then when he went around like punting people in the head when he was hearing stuff in his head, when he was hearing voices and stuff like that, and it was like, this guy was like a real horrible heel. And I just feel like if you turned him heel, like it would give him a new lease of life. And we were actually talking about, because we felt that, I don't know if it was on the air or off the air, but we spoke about who Nakamura could face. And I think we were texting one another actually, because we thought Nakamura was going to win the title. So, and we say, outside of AJ and Daniel Bryan, like, who else is like a babyface that on SmackDown you would look forward to having that feud? Like, I think we say SmackDown basically only have like two good faces.
Who would they be?
Daniel Bryan and
AJ.
Like, it sort of depends. What do you perceive as someone who's a heel or someone who's a face? Like, we'll touch on it later, but I don't want to bring Roman into this conversation. But like I say, it's like, is Brock a heel or is Brock a face? Like, he does sort of heelish things in the sense that he just beats the shit out of people, but
Brock's a wanker, that's what he is.
Fuck Brock. He's not like he doesn't cheat to win and stuff like that. He just kicks the shit out of folk.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, there aren't, like, fine, you can throw Randy into that whole he's one of the top faces on the SmackDown, and yes, but history and his name etc suggests that he is, but I don't see it outside of Daniel Bryan and AJ, and like, unless I'm missing someone out. Jeff Hardy, I suppose, as well. But I just feel that he would, if you turned him heel, like, you would have a couple of real good fresh matchups. AJ, Daniel Bryan, and Randy Orton. I know that only happened a few years back, but I'd be all in for that. You could go with a different dimension of Jeff Hardy and a heel Randy Orton. I just feel like, if you just forget the matchups for a minute, like, just giving him the heel turn, like I said, it'd be a new lease of life for him, I believe. And like I said, he'd done his best work when he was a heel.
He said that himself. He hates being a face. He said it on when he was on Edge and Christian's podcast. He actually said, I can't wait to get this shit over and done with and be a heel again. And if he's saying that, which is on like basically public knowledge now, no wonder he doesn't seem as if he cares that much about what's going on. It's just he's not done enough for me in the last 24 months, basically. Like, see, I know he was out with his shoulder injury for a long time, and I did feel quite sorry for him with that carry on with Brock Lesnar. But he's not done anything of note for a long time, apart from the Luke Harper match. But maybe, I think he reached his peak with the Seth Rollins match at WrestleMania. That match itself was really good, but the actual cage match that they had after that was fucking awful. That was really bad stuff. So I think since then, he's just went lower and lower down the pecking order. He doesn't do much for me. He's older. He's said himself for the public to hear that he's not interested in it anymore. He just wants to do enough on TV to bring the other guys up so he doesn't have to do house shows and all that stuff, so he can be with his 19 children. And I don't know where the feud's going with Jeff Hardy, if it is going to continue, but it's not even a case of me wanting a heel turn from Orton. I'm ready for him to go.
And you know what, like, you got to commend the guy. If he comes out and he says things like, for me, it's not even about the love of the business anymore, or I don't really care anymore. Like, do you know what? At least you're honest about it. Like, is he holding anyone back, or is he taking someone's spot? Like, that would be the only thing you would argue about those kind of statements he's making. I mean, is he? I don't know. He hasn't really been relevant for the last 12 months. I know he had the whole thing with Jinder, but that was it. That's it. I just feel like a heel turn, it would open up a couple of fresh matchups. Like, so off the top of my head, I don't know if we ever saw AJ Orton.
Yeah, there's been a TV match.
But for me, I definitely think, like, it's just so stale, and it's just, like I say, there's no excitement when you see him. It's like, fuck, just hurry up and get this segment over and done with. And that's a shame, because like I say, he's had an absolutely unbelievable career, but I just feel like a heel turn might benefit him and other people.
Well, do you know whose heel run isn't going well just now? Hazard, I guess.
He's 7 foot tall.
He is 7 foot tall.
Well, I don't actually think he is 7 foot tall. Kayfabe, he's 7 foot tall, but anyway.
Well, neither's Kane.
I don't know, but he's a mare now. Well, not yet, actually.
He's not a mare yet. The big red mare.
He's on his way, though.
That big cast Daniel Bryan match was fine. Well, it wasn't fine. It was just... In fact, it wasn't fine at all. It was a load of shite. Big Cass. Is Vince got a thing going on just now? Right, you have to do your signature pose, your signature taunt as much as you can, and milk it as much as you can for a fan reaction. You had Ronda Rousey with the pointing. Now you've got Big Cass, who's doing his Superman pose with his fist up in the air just to further enhance the fact that he's 7 foot tall. We don't need reminded that he's that tall with him flinging his hands in the air. He's just walking about the ring like a total dork bully. He's not the best wrestler, but his character shouldn't have to be the best wrestler. He mucked up with the yes lock. Looked like there was a gif going about where Daniel Bryan had to basically wrestle his own wrist into stopping the yes lock from taking place. And then this stupid 50-50 booking that you've got going on that I'm sick seeing, where someone loses cleanly and then they have to, after the match, get the beat down back on them just to make sure that they stay strong. Pick a wrestler, make them look strong, and make the other one fall down the pecking order because of their loss. It does my boxing. I hate 50-50 booking like that. If you're going to do some strong booking, do what they did with the likes of the first Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler match, where Shayna Baszler had locked in armbars after armbars for the majority of the match, and it was only a very sneaky but very tight sort of schoolboy roll-up that earned Ember Moon the victory. For me, although number one, Shayna Baszler looked very strong in that match, she just looked a wee bit naive and caught off guard. But this, see all that, I know they only had 2 or 3 weeks build for the Colin Cassidy heel turn super push experiment, but he was made to look like an absolute fool. Tapping out in 2 seconds.
You know what they should have just done? They should have just had Cass absolutely destroy Daniel Bryan.
Aye, I would have been fine with that.
In the match. Like, I suppose now that they'll prolong this to Money in the Bank, with the idea maybe being we don't want to do Daniel Bryan and Miz until SummerSlam, perhaps. But maybe you could have went down a different route. Maybe you could have just went, right, okay, maybe it doesn't need to be a squash match, right? But it would be like Cass dominates about 80% of the match. Say Daniel Bryan gets a few kicks in, gets a few signature moves in, looks like maybe he can make a comeback, bang, Cass and nails him again, Cass beats him down, finishes him, hand raised. After the match, Cass then puts the beating on him like he'd done again, and then that way you could potentially have Daniel Bryan come back out following a couple of days on SmackDown or the following week and attack Cass and be like, it's not because I lost, it's not because I'm a sore loser, it's because that you tried to basically end my career again by what you'd done after the match, sort of thing, and that was unnecessary. So you could have went down that route. We mentioned it. It was at Elimination Chamber where Braun destroyed everyone, lost to Roman, and then destroyed Roman just to make it look like, oh well, Roman, even though he won, but technically Braun walks out with the winner. It's the same sort of thing here. I would have just gone ahead and just had Cass beat on Daniel Bryan. At this moment in time, like Daniel Bryan, that wouldn't have affected his popularity and who he is, etc. at the moment. My only thinking is that they're planning to keep this going for a couple of more months potentially. But man, like you talked a big game going into the match, and he ultimately lost. Cass.
It was,
and I always say it like kayfabe or whatever you want to look at it. My lasting, like, I don't care what happened after the match. It's like you lost the match.
Because people look dominant on TV for many a week, but when all is said and done, when it comes to the pay-per-view match, am I right?
Yeah.
That's what counts. It's just the 50-50 booking. They're too scared to make people look strong, and I think Daniel Bryan, he's going to recover from sort of fan sentiment. He'll always recover from no matter what beatdown he gets, because at the end of the day, if he gets beat easily by someone as inexperienced as Cass, people are just going to get angry and be on his side, so he'll always be over regardless. But for him to beat Cass, this doesn't make Cass look strong. Not the after the match beatdown. It's just fuck 50-50 booking. And you know,
like, sometimes that kind of stuff, like what's just happened, like someone loses a match and they beat them down, sometimes that has it works. Shayna Baszler and Ember Moon, like you said, because she beat the shit out of her after the match when she lost the first time.
After the match, that was,
so it just sort of like that. In that sense, I didn't mind it so much, because it was like, oh, I was beating the hell out of you, and you just got past me, like you snuck past me, and I didn't mind it. But too often it's like you say, like this guy's going to lose, but ultimately we're going to portray you to be the winner because you're going to walk out while the other guy's laid out. Like I say, we've said this for a good few months now that we're just not fans of that kind of stuff. But I would have probably just gone ahead. If dependent, like I said, is a bigger how they're feeling about Cass backstage, how Vince and everyone else, if they think that this guy's got a chance, if they want to really give him a push, then just go ahead and have him destroy Daniel Bryan, and then destroy him after the match if you want to prolong this feud.
Exactly.
I'm not sure. Like, let's say they have another match in Money in the Bank. So say Cass goes over and wins, and then they might have a final match. Well, and then what if Daniel Bryan wins that? Then where do you then go with Cass? Because the whole thing that he's built, his grudge against Daniel Bryan, is that you were medical care the same day as me, but no one cared about me. They only cared about little Daniel Bryan, and then he's been mocking his height and stuff. And if you're unable to beat little Daniel Bryan, then now where do you go? From a kayfabe point of view, that I'm talking about.
The theme of the WWE creative whiteboard room at the moment is basically bullying, because you've got Daniel Bryan being bullied for being small, you've got Nia Jax being bullied by Alexa Bliss, and she even cut a Be a Star promo after her win, which was just totally...
She got booed.
I know, but it was clearly not her voice that was saying that, though. That's what was annoying about that. Because I was all about Nia Jax in the lead-in. Thought she's been doing a really good job as a sort of face champion. And then for her to start getting these scripts handed to her, it's, oh, here we go. But the other bullying thing is people getting hit in the balls with this AJ Nakamura. And if you want to look up a picture of 50-50 booking in the wrestling dictionary, then you've got this match. This was infuriating. I don't even know where to begin with this one, because the loophole that they used, I mean, this wasn't a double count out. A count out happens when you're out of the ring. Both men get disqualified in a no DQ match. This is a stupid loophole. And how much patience do you think we've got this loophole to continue a feud in what more often than not delivers a finality? A gimmick match like this delivers a final sort of outcome. It's unfair for us as fans. It's going down the same road, eerily, sort of strangely so, as Owens versus AJ from last year, which ended up just being a vehicle for Owens to get an authority angle storyline on the go. Is this going to be another vehicle to further a Naka storyline at AJ's expense? Or is that how you treat one of the top 2-3 in the business? I don't think so. The match was good. The hype package beforehand was excellent. I really enjoyed that hype package. It made Nakamura look like a deranged maniac. I think his fighting style, as well as his mannerisms, also is more suited to being a heel the way he fights. Much more palatable, less tongue-in-cheek now. It comes across that way. And that turn of sort of misfortune with the chair shot missile going wrong, seemed to do more damage to AJ than it did Shinsuke. But it was just completely overshadowed by another non-finish. A non-finish that they basically did less than 2 weeks ago. This is such a shame. This was supposed to be a dream feud, and it's one of the more annoying parts of the whole pay-per-view.
So, right, so you said quite a bit, so I'll try and break it down a little bit. So I'll say a few things, and I'd like you to sort of retort.
Okay.
So first things first, the match itself was really good.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Ignore the double kick to the nuts, right? Ignore that for a second, right? Everything, like you said, from promo package to the start of the match to the middle, everything up until that point was really, really good. As was the match at WrestleMania, I enjoyed it. As was the match at Greatest Royal Rumble. Forget, like I said, the ending of the last two matches haven't exactly been ideal, and I'm being very, very nice there. So that's point number one. Try and just appreciate what we saw up until the double kick in the nuts, right? So that was a good match. Second of all, it was, the referee said it was neither man was able to answer the 10 count. Am I right?
Yes.
So it was a double count out,
nah,
as opposed to a double DQ. But
I would have to look that up, because as far as I'm concerned, a count out is when you're outside of the ring. Please correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but no way. No way,
right,
Jose.
Maybe I'm thinking about a last man standing, right? But when both guys or women are laid out on the floor, the ref starts in the ring. The ref starts a 10 count, does he not?
But it's not a count out. It's
right. Well, he says both men were unable to answer the 10 count. So it wasn't a double DQ, because you can't get a double DQ in a no DQ match. It was just a case of neither man was able to answer the count and get to their feet. So that's that point. And the next one is obviously going to lead to Money in the Bank, no DQ, no count out, no nothing, no whatever the hell you want.
What would you call that match?
Just a case no holds barred, I guess.
Don't know.
It would just be like a street fight or whatever, and they'll make a point of saying no count outs, no DQs or whatever, and the only way you can win the match is either by pinfall or submission. So we're going to get that, but do we need that match? Like I was with you. I thought this was going to be the final face-off between these two. The ending of the match just literally left a real bad taste in everyone's mouth, because now we can't really appreciate what we saw before it because of how it ended. It should have ended on Sunday, the match, the feud, sorry. We've got to now go through sort of the next 5 weeks, and then who knows if we might even fucking somehow try and prolong it past that.
Oh, Jesus!
I wouldn't put it past them, but I'm just done with it now. Like I thought that was going to be it. And if it did conclude on Sunday there, I would have looked back in this feud and said, you know what, I kind of enjoyed that. Forget the whole shitty finish in Saudi Arabia. Other than that, I quite enjoyed this feud that they two had. Did it live up to expectations? I don't think it was ever going to live up to expectations, because everyone had built it up so much in their head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was never going to hit the heights that you thought it was, because probably our expectations were unrealistic. But it should have ended on Sunday. It really, really should have. And I know, and I suppose we were going to touch on it later on, but we may as well just touch on it now a little bit. But you mentioned earlier on, at the start of the show, about the match order.
Yes.
So, and a lot of people had issues with Roman closing the show, but I'm not going to be about Roman. So I want to give a shout out to Rance and Jordan Fox on the World Class podcast. So they said, right, and this was a real good point that they brought up, that the reason probably Roman and Joe went back, because that, along with AJ Naka, those were probably the two most hype matches
from each
right?
brand, yeah.
So one of those were obviously going to close the show, and then probably, and I'll quote Jordan and Rance, they didn't want to close the show with a double dick shot.
Well, don't do the double dick shot in the first place.
So that's the other argument to it. Then just don't do it.
Sorry for shouting at you. I know it's not your fault, but
just don't do that. But that was their argument. I was going to mention it earlier on the show, but I thought I'd wait until this point. So that's probably why this match didn't close, because they didn't want to end the show that way, because they wanted to prolong this feud. But like, you just got to sit and ask yourself, like, does this feud need to go on longer?
Which one?
This AJ Naka.
Oh, so you want an answer, an opinion now? Yeah.
I mean, I know your answer to it, but go ahead.
No, it's just I wasn't sure if you were still being rhetorical or not. So. I think they need to move on from it very quickly, because SmackDown, the Superstars shake-up occurred, and everyone thought, oh my lordy lord, look at SmackDown's roster. And there's not been much. I know it's been only a few weeks, but there hasn't been much further advancement of any of the storylines, really. You've got folk like Big Cass getting a super push. Almas hasn't even arrived yet. Sanity haven't even arrived yet. You've still got the Bludgeon Brothers and the New Day. Nah, that's kind of fresh, I suppose. But there's a lot.
Sorry, quickly cut you off. Right, see, when Almas arrives, the game will change.
We'll see. I really hope you're correct, and I would pay lots of money to see that happen.
Like I said last week, I just love what they've done with him so far.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was genius of them not to bring him in on the Superstar Shake-Up and not even bringing him in the next week or the week after that. They've just had these little wee 30-second videos, and I'm like, I really like what you've done. To me, it feels like they're treating him like a big deal, but continue, sorry.
Well, I think because of the roster's been so stacked with incredible talent, I mean, you've got an argument for a new SmackDown 6 here, but there's nothing, it's pretty stagnant already, and with the back-to-back pay-per-views that left a bitter taste in fans' mouths, they need to get the ball rolling, and they need to do it quickly. So that's why, Ricky, I am going to... What's the name of the guy on Around the NFL? What's his name?
I mean, there's several of them.
The guy who says locking it up.
They all say it.
Right, well, shout out to Around the NFL, which I've never listened to. I'm going to make a prediction right now, and I'm locking it up.
Locking what up?
I should explain that. Next week, live from England, UK, there will be a WWE...
England, UK.
There will be a WWE title match between AJ and Nakamura, and Nakamura will win. I am adamant that's going to happen, and I'm willing to... What?
No, continue what you're willing to what?
I'm willing to do a forfeit if I'm wrong, because they both hinted... Well, AJ hinted that he's willing to put the title on the line if Nakamura really wants it. They are in the habit of booking matches on social media in between weeks. AJ won the title in England last time. It's happening. He's losing that title next Tuesday night.
Just to clarify here for myself and the listeners, you are willing to forfeit what?
I will hand over responsibilities to yourself for the following week in terms of hosting. So you need to do the start, the send off, the plugs.
I mean, that's quite easy. I already know how I'm going to introduce the show. I can give you a quick sneak preview if you wish right now.
Okay.
Here we go. It'll just be like, hi ladies and gentlemen, this is the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. As you can tell, it's Ricky speaking. I will be your host this week. I'm joined by Clive. How are you, Clive?
You
would reply.
Pissed off, guys.
Can I just cut you off there? So, folks, you will not hear Clive's voice the rest of the show. It was all about me.
You do realise, listeners, that I have the recording equipment in my house.
Yes, but you'll continue recording my voice.
And while that's happening, I'll be tweeting out things. I'll be basically doing that frapping where I'll be using your initial in tweets and saying, I love Enzo Amore, he's the greatest. Please bring back Brie Bella.
So yeah, challenge accepted.
So next week's show could be very different. Regardless, it will be very different. We've either got Nakamura as the SmackDown champion, which is happening, ladies and gents, or it will be the Ricky wrestling show.
Indeed. No, but like, just my final thought regarding this feud. Like, if it ends next week, then good. But I think it'll run to Money in the Bank, which it has to end at that point. You know, there was no need to have the fourth match, but we're getting it. If the first three have it to go by, I'm looking forward to it in the sense that not so much. I want to kind of contradict myself. Like, I don't want to see it, but when the bell rings, like, I'll watch it, and I'll most likely enjoy what they're going to put on, because, like I said, the first three matches have been quite enjoyable. I'm just worried of the finish. Like, how are you going to do the finish? I think the fourth one probably will be a sort of a clean-ish finish, because it will be a no DQ, no count out, etc. So there's no way to cheat to win. Mm-hmm. So
submission, maybe.
But maybe, like I say, it was just a case of the feud should have ended there on Sunday, but like I say, the way that ended, it actually just left a real bad taste in people's mouths, and it's like, really, that's what you came up with?
Well, there was another match that left a bad taste in people's mouths, and since I'm in a mood for hot takes, Charlotte versus Carmella.
This is what I've been looking forward to for days.
Right, okay, here we go. This was a good display from Carmella. Yes, I did say it. It was a good shit heel display. Trash talking, moonwalking, not letting up, getting in Charlotte's face, just annoying. And I imagine the fact that she beat Charlotte quote unquote clean, especially after what happened with Charlotte beating Asuka, it won't sit well with the majority. In fact, it doesn't sit well, I know that. But you know what happened for me made complete sense, right? There might be folks swearing at me right now, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm one of them, but continue.
Charlotte injured her knee during the match and Carmella capitalised. Heel tactics 101 right there. Charlotte, she hardly ever misses that moonsault. I can't remember her actually missing the moonsault at all. Maybe if someone sat down with me and said here, there and this, fine. But she doesn't miss them. And in the hype package for this match, Charlotte hit Carmella with that same moonsault at least 2 or 3 times, maybe more, I'm not sure. But anyway, all Carmella did was adapt to the threat. And what's Carmella's ongoing theme? What does she do? Make the most of opportunities. Right, I'll just chime in.
Yeah, I'll let you continue. The floor is yours at the moment. I'm not going to say a single word until you finish.
She makes the most of, whether we like it or not, by the way, she makes the most of impossible situations put in front of her. Like the snivelling, cowardly heel that she is. She took advantage of Charlotte's bum knee. Was she going to win that match in a fair and square contest against a 100% Charlotte? No, not in a million, not in a squillion years. But Carmella winning. In fact, Carmella's run since the Tuesday after Mania has been sensible booking, just like most of her title reign. I think it has been booked consistently. She wins when Charlotte's down. She still hasn't toppled peak Charlotte, in my opinion. That's what people need to remember. People need to take a step back, try not to throw a hissy fit if their favourite doesn't win. They need to throw a hissy fit if the booking doesn't make sense, and in this instance, again, for me, it was booked to the strengths of Carmella's character. Would you like to retort?
Right. So, are you okay with Carmella beating Charlotte clean? Because it was clean, right? Despite Charlotte just ending Asuka's streak just about, say maybe 4 weeks or so ago, whatever it was. 5 weeks maybe.
Yes. I just spent a few minutes detailing why.
Clean.
I wouldn't say that was clean. Not squeaky.
She didn't do any heel tactics.
Not squeaky. Listen, we know for a fact that Carmella's a dodgy lassie. She got a bloody mutant to win her the Money in the Bank briefcase. Because she couldn't hack it. She couldn't hack it against all those much superior superstars. She has always been an inferior wrestler, and everyone knows that, including Carmella. That's why she is a sneaky cow.
Right. Okay. First things first, right? Carmella, I watched videos of her doing stuff in the New Day. I think it was... Did she not have Big E, I think it was, in the mixed tag challenge thing?
This isn't another one of Xavier Woods' videos, is it, that you're talking about?
yeah, it is. It is, but not one of those ones. So I enjoyed, I saw her doing things like that, and I was like, okay, I like her. Gimmick-wise, it's pretty much perfect. She can talk. She is very unlikable, like her character. She's very annoying, very irritating. She talks a lot of trash before the match, during the match. Gimmick-wise, she's got it down to an absolute T. I've told you, right, and you know this, that I would take a match between two guys or two women that I know that are going to put on a 4 or 5 star match, right, and the build-up to it can be absolute shite because they've been terrible on the mic, right? And I've also said sometimes you just get those perfect builds and in a perfect match. So for me, what I'm saying to you is, I understand if some people say gimmick and entertainment and the non-wrestling thing, that's what they like. And I understand, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what you like, and no one can argue with it. Me personally, I take the wrestling over the other stuff, right? So, for me, she's not ready. She wasn't ready to come up from NXT, and she isn't ready to hold that title, right? Which isn't her fault, because, like I said, she's still quite green. She still isn't. She isn't going to be on Sasha Charlotte's level at the moment, and if she ever is, it's not going to happen for a good few years because they've been in the business a lot longer. So her wrestling ability isn't up to par, right? Despite how much I love her gimmick and who she is, and I love her on social media as well. So that's number one. Her wrestling ability is nowhere near up to scratch. She's still green. She's still learning, and you should not be learning on the job as the face of that division. The match against Charlotte, right? Charlotte couldn't even go into fucking second gear because of who she was wrestling.
That's because Carmella had her grounded with a variety of submission holds and wrapping around the turnbuckle.
Right, fine, I get that, right?
We weren't supposed to enjoy the match.
No, I'm not saying anything bad about the actual match itself or anything like that. I'm just talking about Carmella and her wrestling ability. So now you have got Charlotte, Asuka, and Becky Lynch. A case to be made right there that they're three of the four best women wrestlers in the company. Right? They're certainly in the top 5 of 3 of them, right? So now we need to, rather than getting to watch potentially Becky Lynch having a title, or up against Charlotte or Asuka or anyone, we now need to go through Carmella, who, like, I know off air, I think earlier on you said something like I said she hasn't had a good match, but you said she hasn't had like a really bad match. Am I correct?
I said she's never had a really good match. And right, do you know what then? You're going on about the wrestling comes first and foremost. So is that the reason why you can't accept Charlotte not winning, is because Charlotte is a far superior wrestler than Carmella? No,
right, and I'll get to this point as well. Charlotte is a far superior wrestler, right? I've said it time and time again. Charlotte will mean to the women's wrestling in general what her dad means, and she could potentially have a greater name than her dad, right?
So what is your problem with this match then?
Isn't the match, is the fact that you've given a title. I didn't even have an issue when Carmella cashed in, because how she cashed in, how she won it, made all the sense in the world, right? My issue is we are now going to be subjected to very, very mediocre matches, potentially for a few months while she's got this title, and I'm being extremely generous right there. And I saw, again, I'm not sure where the quote came from, but I saw it on Twitter, and once again, Jordan and Rance of the World Class Podcast, they used the quote, and I'm going to use it if you don't mind, guys. They read it, someone wrote a review and basically said Carmella reminds them of a women wrestler from back in sort of like 2006, 2007 or sort of time, where back then women wrestling was nothing. It was all about, are you good looking, are you pretty and beautiful, oh that's good enough, now come on in, because we'll just pretend that that's all the women are useful for. So that, to me, it harkens back to that. We could have potentially given Becky Lynch a title, right? Like I said, I don't have an issue with Carmella cashing in, because the way she cashed in made sense. I have an issue the fact that now we are going to be subjected to mediocre women's matches, and if she's beaten Charlotte, and now who's next? It's probably, you would imagine, it's going to have to be someone like Becky, Asuka, or Naomi, maybe. Are we now going to be subjected to that kind of stuff for the next few months as well? And I it's not so much that Charlotte's one of my absolute favourites. I can understand you can get fed up watching the same person in the same position for so long, and that's fine. Like, sometimes you need, there's a cycle. You're on top, and then at some point, no matter who you are, you've got to then start to shift down towards the mid card, a wee bit down, and then eventually coming back up to the top of the card. And that's probably what they're going to do with Charlotte just now, and I can accept that. What I can't accept is I'm about to witness mediocre wrestling from a woman whose gimmick is down to an absolute T, but her wrestling ability is nowhere near it.
Speaking of which then, if you're not happy because her wrestling ability is something we're going to be subjected to for a long time, then why were you happy that Rusev beat Daniel Bryan last night?
That, right. That isn't a comparable thing whatsoever.
It most certainly is. Rusev is mediocre as fuck in that ring.
In the ring?
Yes.
Rusev's really good in the ring. And then you couple the fact that, like I say, sometimes you get that perfect build to the perfect match between the perfect wrestlers. Well, sometimes you just get the perfect gimmick with the... no one's perfect in the ring. Sometimes you just get that great gimmick with someone who's really good in the ring, and that's what you've got with Rusev.
All Rusev has is his gimmick, and he's got the accolade and a super kick.
He does not.
What else then? Tell me 5 moves right now.
Well, he's got what, like you said, the accolade, and he's got that, I can't even pronounce it, Mosh, how do you say that?
Time's up.
I'm trying.
See, from a credibility standpoint, Carmella has had more success in the last calendar year than Rusev has. But it's annoying that Carmella is doing well for herself. But it's okay for Rusev, who has been made to look a fool for the majority of his career. Because he beat someone who could, in real life, tie him up in knots regardless of his size. Is that alright? Because it's Rusev Day today.
No,
fuck
right.
Rusev Day, man. Oh, Jesus.
Nah, that's not comparable, right? I understand where you're coming from with that, right? Sorry. I understand where you're coming from in terms of, because you're comparing sort of like Daniel Bryan and Charlotte, who are two of the greatest wrestlers in the world right now, in Rusev and Carmella. The comparison to Rusev and Carmella, that's not on, because Rusev, in comparison to where Carmella is at the moment, it's night and day, right? In-ring ability, Rusev is really, really good. And I understand what you're saying, that like he's done really nothing probably in about 12 to 18 months or whatever, right? But again, it comes back to booking. It doesn't come back to the character or his ability in the ring, because let's be honest about it, has there been a more popular guy in the wrestling in WWE in the last 12 months?
That's based on gimmick though. I mean, half that time he wasn't even wrestling.
He's the one that's put the gimmick over, and then people still relate to what he'd done in the ring. His initial US title run as well, I know I'm going further back, but I've got evidence that suggests from day one when he came into WWE, he's good in the ring. His initial US title run was unbelievable as well.
Did he ever have a clinic?
His stuff with John Cena was really good.
It wasn't a clinic?
Has Carmella had a clinic? Because you seem quite content with this title reign. I can tell you multiple people who have not had a clinic, whether it be in WWE or in a hell of a long time. Nakamura, before the AJ Styles match, had done nothing, and outside the stuff with Bobby Roode, which was decent, his only good match was Sami Zayn when he first came in. Kevin Owens, by the way, hasn't really had a great match in a while either.
I'm unhappy with how Kevin Owens has been treated.
Right, well, he's been treated, but he's been booked poorly, right? And it's the same way Rusev was booked poorly. You can't knock Rusev's ring ability. You can if you want, but I'm not going to turn around and say Rusev's on the same level as Seth and AJ, etc., etc. But the comparison to me for Rusev and Carmella, it's not a comparison whatsoever, because like I said, I think Rusev is much further along than where Carmella is. I understand that's probably time in the ring and experience, etc., but the comparison, I don't get the comparison at all. And if we're going to go by that, then the best wrestler should always win. Then, like, why is Brock Lesnar got the title?
The best wrestler shouldn't always win.
And that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying to you is that for me, Carmella holding the title means that I'm now going to have to watch potentially a couple of months or a year, 2 years, 5. I don't care how long. But we're now watching a woman holding the title who isn't quite ready to hold the title because she can't put on the kind of match that other people can. When there's other people like Becky Lynch, who's arguably maybe the most popular female wrestler in the company, maybe outside of say Sasha, maybe.
Underground popular.
Who again is every bit as good as any female wrestler, but yet we overlooked her.
Right.
Like I'm not saying. I was fine with Carmella cashing in, right, because it made sense. I wasn't happy that she won it, I still wouldn't have had her win it, but she cashed in at an opportune time which made sense. I thought someone would, the Iconics for instance, would come down and help her retain the title. But now, I don't know what they're going to do. So like I says, for me, it would be quite bad now if she then loses the title, like at Money in the Bank or the next SmackDown or whatever.
She'll lose it on TV next week. I'm locking it up. No,
and what I say, I just like her gimmick and everything's really good, right? But she isn't ready to hold that spot. You can't be that green in that Raw and be in that position. And this isn't a knock on her. It's like the people who made that decision. And this has got nothing to do with the fact that I love Charlotte or anything. Like I thought they wouldn't take the title off Charlotte for a long time, right? And I'll tell you right now, I would have been content if Carmella cheated to win, like, or she had outside help. But now that she didn't, suggests to me that she might hold it for a little bit longer, and she might not ever need to have like Iconics or whoever else which she might team up with to help her. So my issue is that now that Charlotte had dropped the title so soon, I don't see Carmella dropping the title that quickly now, because it makes you think like, wait, Carmella held the title for 4 weeks, so why the hell does she beat Charlotte not once but twice? Why would you not have her go on a prolonged run with the title?
Right, well, a couple of points before we move on, because we might end up on this one for a long time and we've got other things to discuss, right? A couple of points are, you've got a lot of SmackDown's women division feels quite face heavy just now. I still don't see Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose as a credible threat, but you can't just have 2 or 3. You've mentioned Charlotte, Asuka and Becky Lynch. You can't have those 3 carry the show the whole year, all the while burying all the heels in the process. You need a strong heel. Well, strong's the wrong word. You need a heel that keeps winning and annoys the shite out of you, so that when the face finally wins, it feels like a good thing, a big moment. A couple of things I would have changed. Yes, I probably would have had the Iconics involved in this match, and in hindsight, Carmella could have had a stronger fall season. She seemed to go by the wayside for a wee while. It's as if they had no idea for her. Lastly as well, I know we're going on about Carmella, but you need to remember that it was either Laurinaitis or Michael Hayes that booked that match, because there was a point in that match where Carmella transitioned into her I can't remember the name of the finisher, but it's like a pretty cool finisher, and she locked it in out of nowhere. She transitioned very well. I think she's a good transitional wrestler. Laugh at me if you want, but she's got good sequences in her at the moment, and I think she just needs to hone on that. Keep her doing the matches in house shows, and Carmella will be the best wrestler you've ever seen, ever since Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah, I say we move on.
Okay. I think I've lost quite a few friends tonight, to be honest with you.
No, like, look, I'm not knocking Carmella, like, in the sense that as a person, or because we don't know her person or anything like that. Her gimmick, like I say, is excellent. I hate her from like a kayfabe point of view, and that's exactly what you should be feeling towards someone like her, that kind of heel.
It's not go away heat, it's I hate you heat.
It's not go away heat whatsoever. It is I hate you and I want someone to slap the hell out of you heat. Right? My issue, like I say, is the fact that we could be subjected to some real mediocre wrestling matches. Like I said, I think she's too green and too raw to be put in the position she is right now.
I don't think she is.
And that's not a knock on her at all, because like I say, she's nowhere near experienced as a lot of the other people, and ultimately to bring her up from NXT was the wrong call. I think we all said that at the time. Or if you're going to bring her up, you should have brought her up with Cass and the one that won't be named.
Right, let's move on. I've not got anything else to say in the matter. I do, but we've got another contentious talking point.
I wonder who that might be.
Well, take your pick. We're getting quite aggro with each other tonight, aren't we?
It's fine.
been building for over a year now, to be fair.
It has. We've been far too nice to one another.
I know we get a wee bit scared when the microphones are on, but I'm coming for you, son. It's the PG version of Booker T's promo.
The very PG version.
Right, Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. Your thoughts, Ricky, please.
That kind of sums it up. It was... I think I text you saying I was expecting a much more hard-hitting affair.
It started off that way.
Then it kind of boiled down to a couple of chin locks and a sleeper hold that Roman appeared to tap out in. Yeah. So I think, to defend it, I think it wasn't so much a tap, it was more so like, you know how sometimes like when you're in that position yourself, like frantically moving your arm and you're trying to get, I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to defend that guy that I really like, I don't know. Right.
Like Charlotte earlier.
Okay. For me, I was surprised that Roman win. I thought, like I said last week, I thought from a kayfabe point of view, like you have Samoa Joe making all these threats, so you would imagine he would be booked to win, because otherwise he might look a bit silly. Did they get the match order right? Well, yeah, we did, if they were going to go ahead and do the double nut shot, because like I say, as we spoke about earlier on, it's not exactly like a way to finish a pay-per-view. It wasn't great. It wasn't what I was expecting.
It was a poor show, to be honest with you.
It's just the show itself. Like, it had its ups and downs. Like, I didn't love the show, but I'm not going to sit here and utterly crap all over it. Like, it wasn't great. It was average at best, but it is what it is.
I think the match I don't think it had any place being last at all. Fair enough, it's arguably the biggest sort of main event wrestlers of each brand facing off against each other. But they've not really had a proper build. You would have put AJ Naka last, but they've put it on last. It was really dull in the middle after a hot start. And Roman winning, I don't think it really made much sense to me, actually. It wasn't even how he won. The final finisher, after taking untold damage, isn't limited to Reigns. Like, one of my favourites, Mustafa Ali, always comes back from lots of beatdowns time and again, but it's that what annoys me is that if Roman wins this and he can't beat Brock Lesnar, then does that not make the kayfabe gulf between Brock and the rest of the roster that much bigger? Brock, he's got Roman in his back pocket. Reigns has the strongest threat in Joe in his back pocket. So I'm starting to sound like some Steiner maths here. If Roman is going to beat everyone else, but he can't deal with Brock, what hopes do we have that the title is going to come off of that arsehole's waist anytime soon? It's just further accentuates the fact that the main event title picture on Raw is broken. The main event scene on Raw on the Raw night of Monday is broken. Deletion.
So
Mick Mahan needs to what?
I read a report that apparently Brock isn't going to be at Money in the Bank. Right, so that's just a report. I don't know how true that is, right? But it could be, like I say, because some of these things are true, some are not. Who beats Brock? Like I said earlier on, I think it's going to be whoever wins it and cashes in on him after a match.
They need to do reenact the Hardcore 24/7 rule, where the camera follows the Money in the Bank briefcase winner to Lesnar's farm.
And there he is, just out in his big truck, his big tractor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I love that title. Not the universal title, that is a hardcore title. So, for me, I know when we touched on it, it would be Brock, it would be Seth or Braun. So now you mentioned that Roman's put some daylight between himself and the chasing pack to him, but there's clear daylight between Brock and Roman in terms of a credible enough threat.
Uh-huh.
So just to quickly touch on Brock before we go back to Roman, I think it's Seth. and going by what you say is, if Roman has just dealt with arguably the biggest threat, then what chance does Seth stand?
I think Seth stands a chance because Seth beat Roman.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, and I know Brock's been built up to be this beast, but Seth's got the ring intelligence, technical ability, etc. But to go back to Roman, I don't know where this is going to lead. Obviously, we know what happened on Raw after it, but for me, the biggest talking point was where people left before the match and during the match.
Right.
And whether or not a lot of people put that down to Roman or someone else, but a lot of people have made their mind up that everyone left because it was Roman in the main event. Like, they're not even going to consider the New York traffic. They might not going to consider Jersey or whatever it was, but they're not going to consider the fact that the show overran by a good half hour. They're not going to consider that it was getting late. Hell, they're not even going to consider that people didn't even want to see Joe. Like, I understand that's not legally right, but still, people are not even going to consider it. It's all just Roman is in the main event. We don't want to watch Roman anymore. Because people who are angry about stuff or pissed off about stuff, they're generally the loudest people in the room because they want change. And I've said it so many times in the past, just because there's a portion of a crowd that are booing Roman doesn't mean everyone hates Roman.
I think what they were doing, right, so there are reasons. Many, as you say, it could be traffic. You've got the pay-per-view was in New Jersey, is that right?
Yeah.
So there could be people going home to New York that night. The show run late and it's 20 past 11 p.m. and you've got a chin lock at the back at, like, after 11 o'clock at night. You've got a chin lock for more than 5 minutes. That's probably one of the bigger reasons that the people left. Just got to take into account that they didn't. I'm kind of going off on one here in a tangent, but there's a chance that if it finished at 11, people would have stayed. It didn't help those chin locks in the match, but I think the main problem isn't that match that people left, because people are going to stay and boo regardless. However, if it turns out that people leaving as a form of protest or whatever you want to call it is what finally sees people change their minds backstage, then I think it's a good thing to do. But this geek parade that they had halfway through the show, there was absolutely no need for that to be on the main card. None. Even on paper, that so-so card, it's stretched out by another 20 minutes or so for a momentum-killing pre-show only. I'm telling you, that should have been on the pre-show at very most. A pre-show worthy geek parade. It's basically Jobber Memorial Battle Royal stuff. The only thing that made me laugh about that was Bobby Roode seemed to sort of manifest out of complete thin air. I don't know where he came from at all. That was teleportation stuff.
No. I mean, people being live probably, like I say, the show went on longer than it should have, and maybe that's why they did leave. But me personally, I kind of enjoyed that segment, partly, I guess, because we're just watching it from home, so we don't have that same need to quickly just turn it off because we're in our homes watching it. So these people are trying to leave and go potentially. So I understand that completely. But for me, it's just this whole mentality that everyone left because of Roman, and
I don't buy that.
That, like, even if that's true, right? Then, and what? Like, what are you going to? What do you blame the SmackDown attendance on? We'll blame Roman for that, shall we? I read an article. Someone says that basically it's not Roman, it's not WWE's fault. What's happening with Roman? It's Roman because he's not up to his game. We are in scripted fucking entertainment. He has been booked a certain way. He has been portrayed a certain way. His matches are being laid out a certain way. This isn't boxing or fucking MMA. It is scripted entertainment where he's been told to do something and he's got to go do it. I understand that people say, well, Seth Rollins is in the same boat where he's scripted certain ways, but his match layouts are differently. He's booked differently. And you remember when Roman was on Chris Jericho's podcast a while back?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember the exact quote, but it went basically like this. He says, talking about his character and his gimmick, he says, if you're a Hollywood actor, right, and you sign up to a movie, and the director hands you the script, and you look at the script and you know that you don't buy it, you don't get it, or you don't like it, but because you're invested in the film or because you've agreed to do it, you'll go ahead with the role even though you're not invested in it. That's how he compared Roman Reigns on TV. He compared it to reading Vince McMahon's script that he doesn't agree with, but he does it because the boss tells him to do it. So I don't buy into the whole Roman should be doing better, but this is how he's been booked. I don't know where it's going to go. They're going with him and Jinder right now. But I just don't buy into this whole nonsense that people are fed up while Roman's continually being shoved down their throat, etc., etc. Well, you weren't complaining when Seth Rollins went fucking 80 minutes on a Raw gauntlet match. Like, was that not being forced? He beat Roman Reigns and John fucking Cena. The two biggest names in that company, probably. Back to back. I mean, people weren't complaining about that.
The only thing I agree with, the only thing I've got very mild contention with is, okay, he's been given strict guidelines on what to do, but it seems to be working well with Braun. Elias, there's probably one or two more, and we know that they're very hands-on with Vince is very hands-on with them. You can just tell it comes across. I agree with you, but why is it working for some and not for him?
Because Braun is just being booked to murder anyone in sight.
So why can't they book Roman better?
I don't know, but let's boo Roman, but let's not boo the fucking man that makes those decisions. But when Vince McMahon appears on the TV screen, we'll fucking cheer him.
So, see, I know, and I think it's backfired again, because do you think, this is a question I'm asking for an answer, do you think that they thought having Jinder Mahal interfere in the Money in the Bank qualifying match would get sympathy for Roman? Because I think that's going to backfire big time, and it's going to make Jinder a comedy face, like a face just to get under Roman Reigns' nose.
So, right, I think probably, maybe, yeah, depending on it, sort of, it runs with the theme that he was screwed in Saudi Arabia. Brock's the chosen one. They never told Roman until the last minute that Brock was going to win, or whatever that promo was, and now Jinder comes out to cost him a Money in the Bank title chance to get into that match. So it ties in with the whole "yous have got it out for me" sort of thing. Ah, man, Roman, like, I think I'm now at the point where I don't believe you can do anything to get Roman universally cheered.
No, it's never going to happen.
And what I'm about to say is what they're doing right now. You can literally bring out a man, right, that can run down every single city and state in America and run down the country of America, right? And Roman can come out and defend the honour of the country, but they'll still end up booing Roman. And that's what effectively we're sort of doing with that whole anti-USA gimmick Jinder had sort of thing. Nothing Roman can do, in my mind, will get him cheered. Nothing at all.
Apart from probably turning him officially heel, then he'll probably get cheered.
Right, and that's the other thing, like we spoke about it earlier on, and like, I was talking to Vance off air, and he made a good point in the sense that, like, nothing that Roman does is babyface-ish.
I know, but look at all the opponents he's had over the last year or so. They've all been heels.
And that's the thing. And like, why countered that to Vance saying it basically, well, not so much countered it, but I say as well, when you look at somebody like Brock's neither a face or a heel, but he became the face in the Samoa Joe battle because Samoa Joe was portrayed as a heel. But then when he went into the AJ Styles match, he sort of came off like Brock is meant to be the heel because AJ was the face. I wouldn't go with a heel turn, if I'm honest, because I don't see how that's going to resolve it, because people are then going to still say, oh, well, now he's getting booed because it's heel heat. But it's not really, because he still potentially might still be getting quote-unquote shoved down our throat.
Probably.
I would just, like, honestly, see, like, obviously we all assumed, everybody did, that he was going to win at WrestleMania. Then he didn't, and we all probably assumed he was going to win at Saudi Arabia. So maybe the plan was never to put a title on him, right? But let's just say the plan is to put a title on him at some point. I would just get it over and done with and just, do you know what, and just be like, boo, cheer, do what you want, this is what we're going with, and I've been adamant about that. But maybe they're not going to go with Roman, but I still don't perceive the whole Roman being shoved down our throat, and people continually say, well, he's closed WrestleMania 4 years in a row. How many times in those matches, did he only win, like, he only won once, right?
Well, he won twice.
When?
Triple H.
And that was it? Or Undertaker, right? And the Undertaker match was closed because it was the Undertaker, and it was probably should have been a retirement match. That's the only reason why that closed, right? So, like, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. Like, honestly, like, there was a time where he was like sort of down the mid card and he was still getting booed. And it's like, right, what, is he still getting shoved down your throat? Like, he's not in the main event picture. He's not main eventing. He's out.
Him being a failure is being shoved down the throats.
Him what?
Him being a failure is being shoved down our throats. Like,
that's the other thing. Like, how can... I saw Meltzer reported that apparently they're trying to go with the whole Daniel Bryan up against authority sort of thing, storyline with Roman. And it's like, you got your ass handed to you at WrestleMania. At no point was that controversial. Mm-hmm. The only controversial thing was the Saudi Arabia one, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And then they corrected themselves. But then, in that theory, then maybe in kayfabe or whatever you want to look at it, well, we made the wrong decision, but maybe because technically you did win the match, but in the records you didn't. But we'll still need to give you another shot, maybe. I don't buy that storyline either at all, because, like, maybe we would have found out before by now. But nothing in my mind resembles that, other than maybe I can maybe get on board with the whole Saudi Arabia part. But Daniel Bryan was literally screwed at SummerSlam by Triple H, was then screwed time and time and time again by the authority, was held back by the authority. Like, I don't get it. I'm done. I'm done with the whole let's boo Roman because he's still being shoved down our throat, and if we turn him heel, now he'll get proper boos. Like, no, I just don't.
He's been,
and now this narrative, everyone left early because of Roman.
At the end of the day, he's been handled over the grand scheme of things over the last how many years, 4 or 5, fantastically bad.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. The time is...
Sorry, on you go.
I was just going to say, time is getting on a bit, so before we end the show with a quiz, and because again, the likes of Roman, that's like a 5-hour podcast on its own, and it's just regurgitating the same things over and over again. So is there anything from Raw or SmackDown that you enjoyed this week that you want to touch on before we do the quiz?
Yeah, just I'll be quick. On Raw, like I said, I enjoyed Seth and Mojo Rawley. The men's triple threat I enjoyed as well. Like I said, for you, I was still surprised that Finn, Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns were all in that match, because I was surprised that Sami and KO are not in that. Braun and KO was good. The part where KO was outside the ring at the barriers and Braun came running round and literally just ran into him at one point, and KO went flying in the air. That was excellent. That was something I quite liked from their match on Sunday when Braun was chasing Sami around the ring. Kevin Owens got up and was clotheslined back down to the ground again, as like during the chase scene. Total Benny Hill moment, if there ever was one. Also, I'll keep this for my last one, sorry. Miz versus Jeff Hardy was really, really good as well. As was... oh, my goodness, I forgot who the other entrant was now for SmackDown.
Rusev.
Rusev and Daniel, how could I forget?
Exactly, I know.
That is not going to look... No, shush. Rusev and Daniel, that was a really, really good match as well.
Listeners, Ricky just forgot what day it is there. Can you believe it?
Yeah. So that was really, really good. But I just, like, do you know what? Ember Moon has probably got my most favourite finisher right now.
It's very good.
The way she hit it on Monday was just beautiful.
I know, but the way Ruby Riott sold it was even more beautiful.
I don't know, was that better than Mickie James's selling of it. Like, they were both just unbelievable.
I would say it is, because that looked like it was actually, without going a bit too graphic, when you can imagine when people are shot and like their nervous system just shuts down entirely and they crumple like an accordion. That's what that was like.
Ember Moon, like, forget gimmick and character and mic work and all that. Ember Moon, strictly for in-ring ability alone, is every bit as good as any of the female roster, anyone on that female roster. Yeah, so that was a real good match. Yeah,
Ember Moon's in-ring quality's pretty peerless, actually, when you think about it. There's not many that can top her. She's really good.
So yeah, like, and to quote you, Raw says sorry. That was a show.
Didn't say sorry that much.
I know. SmackDown was excellent. Next week, Almas is debuting, which cannot wait for that. So, yep, I enjoyed both shows, if I'm honest. Yeah, both really good moments in both shows.
So, just to clarify, Seth Rollins is so good that he got a good match out of Mojo Rawley. I've not got much to add from Raw or SmackDown. Admittedly, haven't actually seen SmackDown. Obviously, with these columns, I'm concentrating more on 205 Live, so I do recommend that you see the Mustafa Ali versus Buddy Murphy match. Another cracker on 205 Live. I forgot what I was going to say there. So will we just do the quiz?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just splice in the music now.
It's fucking quiz time with Ricky and Clive and friends. A fucking WWE quiz.
So, although this has nothing to do with our current affairs, to celebrate the ongoing success in Glen Jacob's mayoral campaign, I've decided to go for a Kane-centric quiz this week. Alright, so okay. I took to the subreddits on Squared Circle, the Squared Circle and the WWE subreddit on Reddit. All the Reddit users, thanks for submitting some questions for me tonight. So I'm just going to go through them. There's quite a few here, alright, there's about 12 questions or so. Right, number one, these ones are from Sky Rule, Sky RU1E. How many world title reigns has Kane had?
Like all versions of it? Including the one he had with ECW?
Let's not include that one.
Alright, okay. World title then, I think it's just one.
3.
No. So, damn it, held the WWF one. Are you sure it's 3?
According to Sky Rule, yeah.
See, I think 3 is including the ECW one, though.
It probably is then. It will be 3. Number 2, who did he cash his Money in the Bank on?
Ooh.
You don't have a clue, do you?
No.
Well, I'll just tell you.
I should probably guess. No, I'll guess. Was it the... It was Ray?
It was, well done. Number 3, I'll give you multiple choice because you would just have to guess with these ones. How many Slammy Awards has he won?
What the fuck?
I didn't say they were going to be easy questions. There's a few right hard questions.
So, did you say that was multiple choice?
I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
How many Slammy Awards has he won? 2, 3 or 4?
2.
Correct. How many awards has he won with the Wrestling Observer newsletter? 12, 14 or 16?
That's just going to be an absolute guess.
Guess then.
14.
Correct again, well done.
Really?
Aye. Kane holds the record for the most pay-per-view matches in WWE history. How many pay-per-view matches has he competed in? Is it between 170 and 180, 180 and 190, or 190 and 200? This is by Wrestling is Cool number 1.
So, pay-per-view, I would assume that includes Royal Rumble then as well. Can you give me the options again, sorry?
Between 170 and 180, between 180 and 190, or between 190 and 200. They've given a specific answer, so I'm just trying to make it a wee bit easier for you.
I'll go with the second one.
Correct again. Have a random stab in the dark for the exact number.
What was the second option? I totally forgot. Like
108, 180 and 190.
187.
Incorrect. 183.
Alright. That was close.
This question is from Kevin Schwartz. What was his first gimmick in WWE?
Is this a trick question?
No?
No, I know, like I know it's Dr. Isaac Yankem, but I'm trying to think, was there something before that?
No, that's it.
Is it? Yeah, that's why I thought maybe it was a trick question.
These questions are from Leaky, Lyyki. Where was Kane born?
What, like the character, Glen Jacobs?
Glen Jacobs.
Where's it running for mayor?
Country.
Oh, country. I know it's. I was going to say exotic. I know it's the Atlantic country. I don't know if it was a South American one, but it definitely was.
No.
It was like a. No.
Not South American.
Oh, right, well, it's either Spain or Portugal, so Spain.
Well done. He was born in a military base of some description. What date of the calendar year is important to Kane?
Fuck. What question is that?
Oh, you'll kick yourself. Will I give you a clue?
Was it the month that his parents died? I don't know. Give me a clue, but
it's coming soon.
Money in the Bank?
Oh, jeez, oh. Will I just tell you?
Aye.
May 19th. Such a sigh of disappointment there.
Fuck's sake.
And why is it important?
Because fucking... It was a film, innit?
And...
Did not come face to face with himself or some nonsense like that?
It was the parents thing.
Oh, was it?
Yes. Money in the Bank.
What was the name of that film?
See No Evil. There actually is a question about that later on. How many times... This is just going to be a random stab in the dark question. I won't give you multiple choice. How many times have Kane and Big Show faced each other in 1v1 matches, including house shows?
What the fuck kind of question is that?
A hard one.
Do I not even get, like, voices there?
No, just pick a random one. Right, multiple choice then. 89, 99, 109.
I was going to say 89 seems a bit high, but geez, 109.
99. Right, next one is from K7 Offsuit. Who is Katie Vick?
Sorry?
Who is Katie Vick?
Katie Vick? that like a joke?
Oh, you're showing yourself up here, not remember the Triple H stuff?
No, I do. That thingy that Kane apparently killed her or some nonsense like that. And Triple H called him a murderer or some shite on Raw.
A necrophiliac.
Oh, fuck.
Do you remember it all now? Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I know, I knew that. Like,
These last group of questions come from Chuck Norris 55. What WWF wrestler was named after Kane, but before Kane debuted?
His name was also Kane?
His name was Kane, before Kane even debuted.
Like spelt the same way?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it so it was just Kane, like he wasn't known as anything else?
Yeah. Well, no, he was known as Kane something.
I have no idea.
Kane the Undertaker.
Fuck's sake.
Second last question from Chuck Norris 55. How many eyes should Kane have?
What kind of question is that?
Well, it's a multiple choice and you've got two options.
Go on.
Fucking hell, son.
Oh, I want you to say it.
One.
Well, technically you should only have one.
There's your answer. Because Paul Bearer claimed the fire set by The Undertaker cost Kane one of his eyes.
Did we ever get an explanation why all of a sudden his other eye was fine?
Because they didn't have the best of makeup departments at the time. Last question. In the movie See No Evil, how long did Vince McMahon want Kane's character's dick to be?
Oh my god, I remember this.
Oh, you know this one, but you don't remember Katie Vick?
No, I do know Katie Vick. I said it to you, didn't I? Oh my god, I remember it. I remember someone telling the story.
I'll give you a clue. It's bigger than Batista's.
I know. It was either 2 or 3 foot long.
3 foot long.
Oh, Vince, you're not out of touch at all, are you?
Thank you to the Reddit users for submitting them. Much appreciated. Saved me a job today, I have to say. So that concludes this Backlash review episode of the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, which you can find on the Social Suplex Podcast Network, which has other shows such as The Wrestling Wash, featuring Ring of Honor and Impact Mark Caleb. You've got the Outsider's Edge with Rance and Carl. Rance also does the World Class Podcast with Jordan, which is on another network, so I technically shouldn't be allowed to plug them right this second. You've got Keepin It Strong Keepin It Strong Style with Josh and Jeremy talking about New Japan. Things are heating up immensely over there at the moment. You've got a rematch, number 4, of Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada at Dominion.
Yeah, that's going to be disappointing, isn't it?
Oh my word, I'm actually quite excited about that. You've also got Jericho making his return as Eddie Izzard. That was a laugh from Ricky there. He just sort of took he just sort of lost his voice for a second. No, but Jericho's back and sicker than ever, so all good stuff. Last but not least, you've got Rich Latter doing the One Nation Radio on One Nation Live. Please check out the columns on socialsuplex.com. You can actually subscribe to the columns. There's a subscribe function. You get those columns and all the podcasts that I've just mentioned emailed directly to your inbox. And lastly, my God, see, one of these days I will get this plug spot on, but it's not tonight. Make sure you rate and review the podcast on the app of your choice, specifically Apple, if you use Apple, because there's algorithms involved and it gets the message out more. And join the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group for lots of chat, lots of sort of back and forth interaction with the hosts of the show, and just general fans and listeners. That was awful. I should be sacked for that one.
You know, like, I always have a little chuckle to myself when I look at the show notes and you've got the plugs written down, and I'm always thinking, does he still not know it? But evidently not.
See, those plugs are for when I'm like copying and pasting stuff up for the podcast, the actual show notes, and I still get it wrong. It's embarrassing. But if Nakamura is not the WWE champion this time next week, it's your turn to do the plugs, so you better practice in front of a mirror.
Yeah, that's fine. I have no issue doing
Any
it.
plugs from yourself?
No. Just, obviously, everyone at your stage, you've touched on everyone. Please continue downloading. And obviously, you know, hopefully we can try and get this quiz sorted out with Jeremy, Josh and Rich as well. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's actually
put out as a wee bonus as well.
Quite a wee bit of downtime with regards to WWE product before we hit June, so maybe we can get something done towards the start of June. We'll speak to the guys off air about that one. Can still not confirm or deny whether Rich is indeed the third man, and if you ask him, he's been sworn to silence.
Yep.
Just putting words in the guy's mouth now.
Well, you know, never know. You won't find out until the day the quiz takes place.
That's it from us tonight. I'm sorry that you didn't enjoy Backlash, but I hope you enjoyed us moaning about it instead. Speak to you next week. Good night and God bless to one and all.
Take care, folks.
Thank you for listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Podcast. We'll see you next time.